Yeah, hi, Mark here. I haven't been real regular about posting my videos over the last several weeks because I'm in Russia and there are things going on right now that kind of preclude me from publishing them as often. Plus, my subject matter I can cover now is pretty minimal. That's why it's more or less going to be for a few more weeks anyhow, more or less a vlog. Could be called Mark's vlog in Russia. So maybe not as interesting in many different ways, but I like to read your comments. I like to meet up with you this way. It's really the only way I can do it. Well, you can watch a little bit about what I've been up to the past week or so. Watch that now. But stick around because I want to talk a little bit about the current situation over here after that part of the video is done. So please, let's watch. Yes, hi. Hey, last week I had a little project I did. If you look up on my roof up there, you can see one of these things. It's supposed to, like a snow dam. It's supposed to hold back snow from sliding off. I installed one over over the garage door because snow would slide off. It would be damp, maybe fall with such force, and if I didn't remove it immediately it would freeze solid, so it was like a big frozen hump. It was really terrible. Well, anyhow, in a few minutes I'm going to start doing along the side of my garage here. You can see because it's I need to walk there. I need to walk back there during the winter, and the snow falls off of the roof of the house, which does not have the snow dams, and it blocks half the path there, but then the stuff off the garage falls down and blocks the other half. It's too much of a pain, so I'm going to put snow dams up on the side on the garage, so I'll at least have half a path. So, well, you just kick back and watch how I do this. I'm sorry, but the wind noise here was so bad I couldn't use the audio. I was saying that the final 10 feet of piping that goes up on the roof would have to wait a few days because I was waiting for some special long bolts to be delivered. Now those bolts were supposed to come here today, but even when they do, I'm not going to set up dual cameras and everything so you can see me installing 2 pipes. Hey, hi. I had to duck down a little bit so I keep myself in frame here, my head in frame anyhow. Very often when I do videos of myself, I show myself working outdoors, different outdoor projects. And like I mentioned before, for the next several weeks, this channel is going to be more of a vlog, meaning showing my daily life, because I'm not quite ready yet to be out wandering around with a camera, filming on the streets and stuff. Not yet. Still seem a little bit out of place, a little bit strange to me. But so our house is about 2,000 square feet. 2 of our daughters have dust allergies, so we can't have carpeting anywhere due to dust allergies. So our floors all on the first floor are tiles, and on the second floor it's all wood floors. So I help my wife out by once a week I go and I vacuum all the floors and I mop all the floors. And because she shouldn't have to do that on a weekend. I'm getting pretty good at it. I've been doing it for 3 years here now. And I can do it total, the whole house, in maybe 3 hours maximum. But 3 hours, for my wife to lose 3 hours of her weekend when she works hard during the week, it's not right. So I go ahead and do it. So here you go. You're going to watch me. I'm doing the upstairs bathroom right now. Don't worry, no toilets or anything. I let my wife do that still. But doing the floors. But before I do the floors, I have to move everything. So bear with me for a few minutes and we'll be done. Okay, floor is dry. I guess time to put everything back together again. Okay, well, sorry you had to share that with me, but could have been worse. Could have been the toilet, and I still don't do toilets. Okay. Hey, about 2 weeks ago, actually a little less than 2 weeks ago, I did some filming out here in the backyard. I was, well, doing some raking. The lawn was brown, so raking up thatch. I just want to show you the difference now. I don't know if we looked at the side lawn also, but the side lawn was really brown and dead looking also. I'll show that to you now. So anyhow, that's cool. The new grass is, well, it's growing. It's not perfect yet. You can see the different coloration. Lots of little weeds I got to pick out there, but the ground still isn't in that area. I don't like walking in it. Kind of footprints go in a little bit right now. I'll have to hold off a little bit longer on that. See, I had a chaise lounge out there the other day, just relaxing. different things, like we have a little strawberry pyramid that we built last year, and they're all the strawberry plants are looking pretty good right now. Hopefully we'll see some strawberries in another month and a half or so. Got a combination of June bearers and ever bearers in there. Okay, as promised, I said I'd talk a little bit about the situation over here at this point. As you know, I can't say much, and because if you say the wrong things, it can result in actual prison sentences. And trust me, it'll happen. It does happen, and it can happen, and it will happen. So I won't do that. My family needs me, and they don't need me in jail. So far, this action going on, I can't use the W word. The action going on now, military action, has been going on for more than 2 months, which is, I think, much longer than anyone originally thought it would last or thought that it would last. It doesn't seem any closer now to an end. It seemed closer back then to an end. I heard things back then about Russia only had like maybe 10 days worth of weapons and they'd be out. Well, it's been, more than 2 months and things are still going. Sanctions are, I'm trying to think they suck. Okay, I guess when I say that, inflation is very, very high. I don't have access to my money in the U.S. Which of course that's a much smaller problem than many people are experiencing right now. So I'm not looking for pity or woe is me. Not at all. I'm alive. I'm not wasting away. I'm obviously eating fine. But I think overall, when I just look at society and people here, I think everything is kind of taking its toll, and their depression level, I think, is a bit higher. Patience level is a bit lower. And the real effect of many of these sanctions won't be felt till like this summer. When I go to a store now, when I go shopping, everything seems fine there. Everything is still there. The prices are much higher due to inflation. But I think it's going to be getting a lot worse come summer. But then again, that's all over the world, unfortunately, because you're feeling inflation in other countries right now, not necessarily because of the situation over here. It may be due to totally other problems, but there will be, problems with food, with fertilizer. Fertilizer has gone up 100 or 200% in price, and that's providing you can get it, because most fertilizer is produced by Russia and by Ukraine. Both were big exporters of food and grain. So all of these things are going to be felt more as the year goes on. I don't want to express any personal feelings about what's going on right now. I wish I could, and I love politics. I love talking politics. I've never been in a situation before where I cannot talk it, but I am in a situation now where I cannot talk about it. I'm looking at the damn little screen and not the camera lens as usual. Sorry. So to you, it looks like I'm looking off to the side before, like maybe it's somebody who's got a gun pointed at me telling me what to say. But that isn't the situation at all. When I'm out here, when I go shopping with my wife or something, I just try to speak very little English while I'm shopping. I don't want to attract attention to me. And it's not because people over here are cruel and they'll say things or anything. It's just that in any country you can have zealots. And I don't want to attract any zealots to me or attract any zealots to my family. I've got good neighbors. And I have no problems with any of my neighbors. And nor if the situation was reversed would they have a problem with me. So I'm sorry that I really am not telling you a whole lot about things over here now. I'm not gonna, I see a lot of videos on the price of gas, gasoline, this and that. I'm not going to bother with that or bother telling you what the prices are now, because you'd have to know what they were before. And when you know prices, you'd also have to know what the average person earns. Listing off prices doesn't tell you anything at all. So thanks for continuing to watch, and watch till the end of this video. Thank you very much. Sorry I don't have a lot more that I can and that I'm able to tell you. I have so much I would love to tell you. So many things I would love to say, but I'm not going to. So thank you again for watching my video. And I'll see you next time, which may be in a week, it may be a little longer. We'll see. Okay, well, thank you. Пока.